What you're about to witness is one of the most satisfying takedowns in Judge Caprio's entire career. An arrogant CEO with an ego the size of a skyscraper. A claim so outrageous it will make your jaw drop. And Judge Caprio's response, so savage, so perfectly delivered, that it will have you cheering out loud. But before we dive into this absolute masterclass in humbling someone who desperately needs it, let me ask you something. Where are you watching us from? United States? United Kingdom? Canada? Brazil? Drop it in the comments because I love knowing this global community is growing every day. And if you're new here, smash that subscribe button because we bring you the most epic Judge Caprio moments where entitled people get exactly what they deserve. Trust me, this takedown is legendary. It's a Tuesday morning in Providence, Rhode Island. The courtroom is filled with people waiting nervously for their cases. Traffic violations, parking tickets, the standard municipal court fare. But then the energy shifts. The bailiff calls the next case. Jonathan Pierce. Multiple parking violations in loading zones and handicapped spaces, total fines of $850. And through those courtroom doors walks a man who radiates arrogance from every pore. Jonathan Pierce is in his late 40s, wearing what is clearly a $5,000 custom-tailored suit, gold Rolex catching the light, Italian leather shoes, his hair perfectly styled, and on his face, that unmistakable expression of someone who believes rules simply don't apply to him. He doesn't walk to the podium. He struts, like he owns the place. He places his expensive briefcase down with a deliberate thud and looks annoyed, like this entire proceeding is beneath him. Judge Caprio looks up from the paperwork, immediately spotting the entitled arrogance. Good morning, Mr. Pierce. I see you're here regarding multiple parking violations. 8 tickets over the past 3 months, all in restricted zones, loading zones, and handicapped parking spaces. That's quite a record. If you're already getting bad vibes from this guy, hit that like button right now, because what's about to come out of his mouth will make you furious. Jonathan Pierce barely makes eye contact with the judge. Your Honor, I'm a very busy man. I run a tech company worth over $50 million. I have meetings, deadlines, responsibilities that most people can't even comprehend. When I need to park, I park. I don't have time to circle blocks looking for legal spots. Time is money, and my time is worth considerably more than these petty fines. The courtroom goes silent. Did he really just say that? Judge Caprio's eyebrows raise. So you're saying that because you're wealthy and busy, parking laws don't apply to you? Pierce shrugs, completely unbothered. I'm saying I make judgment calls based on efficiency and value. These fines are what, $100 each? That's less than I make in an hour. It's simply a cost of doing business. A parking ticket is just a fee for parking wherever I want. The prosecutor is staring in disbelief. Judge Caprio leans forward. Mr. Pierce, I'm looking at these citations. 3 of these 8 tickets are for parking in handicapped spaces. Spaces specifically designated for people with disabilities who need them. Can you explain that? Drop a comment right now if you're already furious, because it gets worse. Tell me what country you're watching from. Pierce actually looks bored by the question. Your Honor, I assessed the situations. The spots were empty. No one was using them. They were convenient to my destinations. In business, you take advantage of available resources. He pauses with a smirk. Besides, I didn't see anyone with a disability needing the spot when I was there. So no harm, no foul. The courtroom erupts in angry whispers. Someone actually says out loud, "Are you kidding me?" Judge Caprio holds up his hand for silence, his jaw clenching. "Mr. Pierce, those spaces aren't empty resources to be exploited. They're protected by law for people who genuinely need them. People who can't walk long distances. People in wheelchairs." Pierce waves his hand dismissively, and this is where he crosses the line. "Your Honor, with all due respect, I don't need a lecture. I'm not some common criminal. I'm a job creator, a business leader. I contribute more to society in a month than most people do in a lifetime. My company employs 200 people. I pay more in taxes than everyone in this courtroom combined." He straightens his tie. "In my world, I make the decisions. I set the rules. I'm essentially God in my company. And I don't apologize for having that mentality." The courtroom absolutely explodes. People are gasping, shouting. Did he just compare himself to God? Judge Caprio stares at Pierce with an expression that would make most people deeply uncomfortable. But Pierce just stands there, completely unaware he's sealed his fate. Share this video right now if you want to see this CEO get absolutely destroyed. Because what Judge Caprio is about to do is legendary. Judge Caprio finally speaks, his voice cold as ice. "Mr. Pierce, did you just compare yourself to God?" Pierce, still clueless, actually doubles down. "In my sphere of influence? Yes. I control outcomes. I make things happen. I answer to no one. That's the reality of being successful at my level. Most people can't understand that because they've never operated at this altitude." Judge Caprio stands up from his bench, something he rarely does. "Mr. Pierce, let me tell you something about your altitude. Right now, you're not in your company. You're not in your boardroom. You're in my courtroom. And in here, I don't care if you're a CEO, a millionaire, or think you're God himself. In here, you're just another citizen who broke the law multiple times, deliberately, and with shocking disregard for others." Pierce's smirk finally starts to fade. "Your Honor, I think you're overreacting. These are just parking tickets." "Just parking tickets?" Judge Caprio's voice rises. "You parked in handicapped spaces. 3 times. Spaces reserved for people with disabilities. And you stand here justifying it because you were too important to follow the same rules everyone else follows. You compared yourself to God. Let me remind you, Mr. Pierce, God is supposed to be compassionate, merciful, concerned with the least among us. You've demonstrated none of those qualities. You've shown contempt for people with disabilities, contempt for the law, and contempt for this court. Tell me in the comments if you're loving this. Have you ever seen someone need to be taken down a peg this badly?" Judge Caprio continues. "You say you're a job creator, that you contribute to society. Good for you. That doesn't give you the right to park in handicapped spaces. You know who else contributes? The single mother working 3 jobs, the veteran bagging groceries, the nurse working double shifts. They follow parking laws. They don't park in handicapped spaces. Are they less important than you?" Pierce is turning red, but from anger, not shame. "Your Honor, I don't appreciate being lectured. I'm willing to pay the fines. Just tell me what I owe, and I'll write a check." "Oh, you'll pay the fines, Mr. Pierce. But I'm not done. You see, I have discretion. I can reduce fines for people who show remorse, who made honest mistakes, who are struggling financially. But I can also impose Maximum penalties for people who show flagrant disregard for the law and zero remorse. Guess which category you fall into? Pierce's lawyer finally stands up. Your Honor, my client perhaps spoke hastily. Judge Caprio cuts him off. Counselor, your client said exactly what he meant. He believes his wealth puts him above the law, above common decency, and he compared himself to God. Here's what's going to happen, Mr. Pierce. I'm imposing the maximum fine for each violation. That's not $850. That's $2,100. Pierce gasps. 2,000? Your Honor, that's excessive. That's not excessive, Mr. Pierce. That's accountability. Hit that subscribe button if you love seeing entitled people get what they deserve. Share this video because this takedown is perfect. But Judge Caprio isn't finished. Additionally, I'm referring your case to the city attorney's office to investigate whether your repeated parking in handicapped spaces warrants additional civil penalties under the Americans with Disabilities Act. Those penalties can be up to $75,000 per violation. So your 3 handicap parking violations could potentially cost you $225,000. The color drains from Pierce's face. You can't do that! Oh, I absolutely can, Mr. Pierce. And I am. Because someone needs to teach you that laws apply to everyone. Even people who think they're God. Pierce's ego finally cracks. Your Honor, this is outrageous. I'll appeal this. Judge Caprio actually laughs. I'm abusing my power? You parked in handicapped spaces because you decided your time was more valuable than disabled people's needs. You compared yourself to God. And now you're accusing me of abusing power? The irony is pathetic. He leans forward. You want to appeal? Go ahead. Let an appellate court review your statement that you're God. Let them review your justification for parking in handicapped spaces. I'm confident in my decision. Are you confident in your behavior? Pierce finally realizes he's destroyed himself. His lawyer is pulling his sleeve. Your Honor, I think there's been a misunderstanding. No misunderstanding, Mr. Pierce. You were perfectly clear. And so am I. $2,100 in fines, referral to the city attorney, and one more thing. I'm ordering you to complete 40 hours of community service at the Rhode Island Center for Independent Living, helping people with disabilities. Maybe then you'll understand why those parking spaces exist. Maybe then you'll develop some empathy. Maybe then you'll realize that being wealthy doesn't make you God. The courtroom erupts in applause. People are standing, cheering. Pierce looks absolutely humiliated. Judge Caprio bangs his gavel. Mr. Pierce, you'll pay your fines at the clerk's office. And I better not see you back in this courtroom again, because next time I won't be so lenient. As Pierce is escorted out by his mortified attorney, the courtroom is buzzing. One elderly woman says loudly, "That's what I'm talking about. Somebody finally put that kind of person in their place." Comment below and tell me if Judge Caprio's response was perfect. Should entitled wealthy people face harsher penalties when they show zero remorse? 2 weeks later, Pierce shows up for his community service. The director tells Judge Caprio that Pierce arrived, clearly annoyed. But something changed over those 40 hours. He met people with disabilities who struggle every day. He heard stories about how handicapped parking spaces mean the difference between independence and isolation. And slowly, his perspective started to shift. By the end, Pierce donated $50,000 to the Center for Accessibility Improvements. Judge Caprio keeps this quiet, not wanting Pierce to get positive publicity for doing what he should have done all along. This is what Judge Caprio's Courtroom teaches us, that respect isn't about money or titles. It's about how you treat other people, especially people who are vulnerable. Jonathan Pierce thought his wealth made him special, made him God. But Judge Caprio reminded him that in a courtroom, justice is blind. It doesn't see your bank account. It only sees your actions and your character. And by those measures, Pierce was found severely lacking. Thank you for watching this savage takedown. Share this video with everyone who needs to see that entitled people can be held accountable. And remember, thinking you're God doesn't make you immune to consequences. It just makes your fall that much harder.